all. So what I'm going to do is kind of two parts. And I'm going to be sharing my screen. The first part, I would like for you to be my uh, students. I want you to see what the students will see when you're presenting a lesson. And then the second part, I'm going to have you in your account and getting you where you know what you're doing and how to build a lesson and get your reports and such as that. So let me share my screen first. And so I'm in my Nearpod account, and I'm in my Nearpod account here, and this is the lesson that we're going to do. I want you to just go to nearpod.com, and that's their homepage, and you'll see a couple of places where it says join, because I'm going to give you a code in just a minute. And that's what your students would do. And so this is the lesson. Let me just go back so I can show you a couple things. You have a choice of doing live participation, which is what we're going to do today, or student-paced. It's the same lesson. The difference is in live participation, I, the teacher, I'm driving the lesson. I'm moving the lesson along. In student-paced, the students can look at it on their own time. They can go through it more than once and all. And that may work very well for you for a lot of your lessons. You don't know, we don't know what our, what students' responsibilities are at home, or do they have a part-time job or what. And so being able to pick the time when they are can watch the lesson may work very well for you. Up here, there's three little buttons or dots. And when I click on those, I have a pop-up window. And one, if you find a great lesson that you want to share, one, either with the whole school or with your team or with the other math teachers, you can share it by just clicking on that, and they will get an email, and they will be and it'll say, so-and-so has shared a lesson with you. Do you want to add it to your library? I can duplicate a lesson. I can, if I'm building a school library, I could add it to that. I can export it as a PDF. I can, this isn't one way to get to my reports. The reports are very good, and you'll get them for each lesson. Or for some reason, I can, if I need to, I can delete the lesson. So I'm going to do live participation. And I'm going to launch a new live participation. And you'll see this code is going to pop up. It's always 5 letters. And so it's PAERI. So you want to put that into your box there that asks for the code. It is not case sensitive. Excuse me. It will, every time you launch a lesson, this 5-letter code will be different. You can put it in as a link in Google Classroom. You can send it students a link. So there's a lot of ways to get this code to your students. So it's PAERI. Now for me, the teacher, even when I start my lesson, that code is up in the top left-hand corner. So if I have someone come in late, either to the presentation, excuse me, this morning, I just have to look up there and tell them the code. and it will catch them up right to the spot that we are. And down in the bottom, it's real small for me, but I can see how many of you have logged on as my students. So for you, that keeps you from having to do a shout out or ask everybody if they're on, because if you're supposed to have 25, that number should be 25. So this is an introduction to Nearpod, and I will tell you when I finish, I also will be sending additional resources. Nearpod does a great job on providing resources and training for the teachers. And so I'm moving on. This is who I am. I retired from a fairly large school district in our area here. I'm in the Dallas area, and I am a level 3 certified trainer for Nearpod. And right now they're really keeping me busy. And that's my contact information. If you ever have a question, please just send me an email. So this is a very short Google form. I'd like for you to fill it in. It's just your email address and your name, because after the training's over with, I will go into my Google Drive and I will go to this form and I'll collect your email addresses, and that way I'll be able to send those resources directly to you. And so you can put a Google form easily inside of a Nearpod presentation. So it's just a very short one, email and your name, okay? Now this is, should be on your screen up in the top right corner. And there's an icon up there. It looks like a piece of paper and a pencil. And click on that. And what this does, that opens up notes. And especially with you teaching high school, you want to tell your students to do this every time, because what it will do, they can take additional notes, but at the end of your lesson, they will get that lesson sent to them to that email, or if they set it up in Google Drive, or if they save it to OneDrive. I, the teacher, will not see their notes. They're strictly goes to them. And also, I do not have that little icon at the top right corner of my screen. So I always, until my students get used to just automatically turning on notes, I have to remind myself, tell them to turn on notes, because I don't see the icon. So you just click on it and you choose how you want to receive this presentation and any notes you might take. Okay. Now, when you go through this and you see a slide, it has that downward arrow. That means there's an additional slide or slides there. And so this is just reinforcing how to open notes. Top right-hand corner of the student screen, decide where you want to save it. So we're going to talk about curating lessons, how you can launch 2 different ways, and look at the many different features in Nearpod. Now, this is just a poll within Nearpod that is part of our presentation. It's one of the activities you can add into any Nearpod. So go ahead and fill out the information. So I'm asking you, which of the following best describes your familiarity with Nearpod? So for me, it confirms where most of you are. Some of you may never have even heard of Nearpod. Some of you may have and have been using it some, but most of you, I've heard of it, and are ready to learn more about it. I love to use polls with my students as well because I can get 100% participation. I'm seeing this poll in real time. And so right away, I know exactly what I need to do. And so this is, they're very easy to put in your presentations. And you can always share the results out to the students. So you've taken a poll and you have this screen and you share it with them and they see the results of the poll right then as well. So most of you have heard of Nearpod. Now here's what I was seeing as you were responding. I was seeing each of your names. This is my pretend class, and I was seeing the results come in, and it was building a gathering my data for me in a pie chart and all. So that's what I mean about I see the results in real time. So what is Nearpod? It's very interactive as a presentation tool. It's easy. One of your new best friends is going to become the Nearpod library. So it's easy to find lessons already made that you can customize for your classroom. By using those, you can have a lesson ready to go just in minutes. Everything in a Nearpod that can be graded will be graded for you, and that will show up in reports. So it saves you a lot of time there as well. And I love it because I get the 100% student participation. Now you can have videos. That's another way to add content into a Nearpod. And every time I have a video that I'm ready to play, I get a pop-up. And the pop-up asks me, where would you like the video to be played? I can have it playing on all of the devices, or I can have it just on this device only. Now, when I had face-to-face students, I could do all devices if they all had earbuds so that it wasn't just too distracting. A lot of times I like to do it on my device only, and that's what I'm going to do today. So also within this presentation, Nearpod actually put this together for us to use. And then of course I had to go in and tweak it because there's some things I like to show and do. But they have a lot of short videos. We won't take the time to watch all of them because I want to have time for the hands-on and all. But most of them are very short. So this is one, and it's just talking about what is Nearpod.
Introducing Nearpod. With Nearpod, you can make every lesson interactive. Launch lessons your students can't wait to join with collaborative, engaging activities like virtual reality, simulations, and gamified quizzes. As the teacher, you'll always know where your students are with Nearpod's formative assessments, including polls, open-ended questions, draw-its, and more. Get started with what you already have. Upload any of your favorite resources, PowerPoints, Google Slides, and videos, including directly from YouTube. Then, add in media and formative assessment in a few clicks. And now you can add questions directly into videos to make them interactive. Get started even faster with our library of pre-made lessons and videos, built in partnership with some of your favorite brands. You can use them as is or customize to meet the unique needs of your students. Once you're ready to launch your lesson, choose from 3 teaching modes. In live participation mode, you control the pace and students participate on their devices, either in person or remotely with web conferencing. In student-paced mode, students move through and participate on their own, whether they're working from home or in class working in centers, stations, or groups. With front of class mode, you can use Nearpod without student devices and facilitate collaborative discussions. Imagine what you can do with Nearpod. Your students will love lessons that combine engaging media with collaborative ways for them to show off how much they've learned. You'll love unlocking student understanding in real time and having reports to inform the next day's instruction. You'll wonder how you taught without it. Learn more and get started for free at nearpod.com.
Okay, so that was just an overview of what Nearpod is and all. Now, what this is a lesson that I developed several years ago. It was actually in PowerPoint. And as you know, PowerPoint or our Google Slides, it's just kind of a slide after slide, and it's not as interactive as what I can do when I'm in Nearpod. So this started out as a PowerPoint. I brought it into Nearpod to add some interactive activities. So now on your screen, I would like for you to draw a picture of what you think a predator would look like. You have some drawing tools down there at the bottom. Usually all I tell my students is there's more colors than black because they'll click on anything. And go ahead, and so this is like a pre-assessment for me on this topic. I want to see if my students know basically what a predator is. And I'm watching you draw in real time. It used to be that I had to wait as the teacher until you hit submit before I would see the drawings. But right now, I'm actually watching you, you draw. Now, I love drawing. It's very creative. Students like it. A lot of times for this slide, I might put a timer on it just because once they find the eraser, they erase and they want to start over and all. But it is a great tool, and I see some of you are very artistic. Others maybe not as artistic as some of your peers. So go ahead and hit submit and all. Now, one of the things I like to do when I'm doing a live session and have a draw it like this, you have students, I had students that it was hard to get them to participate. They were either shy or something, but maybe they're really good at artwork and all. So a lot of times I could, I'll see somebody's and I think, oh my goodness, that is a fantastic drawing. And I can recognize that student. And so I see this drawing over here and I can click on it and I can say share. So Sean Derrick is my shy student and all, but he is a great artist. And then I could ask Sean to tell the class what makes this a predator? What are the characteristics that make it a character? And Sean, you want to tell us?
Shark Week.
Huh? Shark Week, okay. And so it's a great way for me to sometimes put out front some of those students that I don't get to recognize as often. Now, I tell everybody to go ahead and share, because if they don't share and I go on, their drawings won't be saved for me in my reports and all. So sometimes I give them a countdown or something. So
hey, Joan.
Uh-huh.
Kevin asked, how do you keep the pop-up tools bar from interfering with the drawing in the picture? I think it's that lock button, right? Toward the.
Oh.
Okay, I'm not, because I don't, are you talking about the drawing tools?
Yes.
Okay. They're not, they should just stay down there at the bottom.
Well, they do, but every time you get down anywhere near them, they pop back up and get into the picture.
No, I don't know if that has to do with me going through Zoom. I've never had that question asked, so it's a good one to know. We're going to do another draw it. Let's see if it happens in it as well. Okay. And you know, I can go in. You know, I don't see the tools because I'm the teacher and all. But we'll see if we can sort that one out for you. So I go on, and this is what I was seeing. Your drawings were coming in, and of what a predator would look like. Okay, I want my student drawings. Okay. Have to write myself a note because I'll forget. So this is, it was just a slide talking about what images. We would have a discussion. Here's my definition of what a predator is. Now, this is another draw it slide, but it's totally different in that I took a slide that was just sentences and converted it to a draw it. So in my instructions, I'm asking you to circle the predator in each sentence. So again, I'm just doing a quick formative assessment and all. This could have been a slide of a map that I convert to a draw it. And then I could give instructions of color in the 13 colonies, whatever I would like to do. So it was a slide, but now I made it into a draw it. And again, as you're doing this, I'm seeing them come in. It's a quick check for me to see, are my students getting it, or do I need to reteach and all? So a different way to use the drawing piece. Okay. So this is what I was seeing as you were working on it. And then this is, when you're working on it, this bar down here is yellow. And then when you submit, it turns green. And so you were doing a very good job. And so we can go on. You understand what a predator is. Now, within Nearpod, you're going to find these are the 3D images. And of course, the shark, as we said, we've got Shark Week and all, but the students can move them around. They can make them larger. The ones under science with cardiovascular system or the auditory system are fantastic. And it's easy to bring them into your presentation. So now this is a quiz. Now it's a very easy quiz. It only has one question, but I can build in quizzes. I could have 25 questions. So go ahead and take this quiz. Again, I'm doing it in the middle of my presentation. I could use it for summative assessment, but my focus for me is this formative assessment. I'm seeing in real time whether you're getting it or not. And it's also building me another pie chart. And obviously I want it to be all green and not all red. But if it was 50% red, I would need to go back over what the definition of a predator was. So you can have your quizzes. This will be graded. It will show me how each of you have done. If somebody wants to miss one on purpose, that's fine. And all. Saves you a lot of time. And this is what I was seeing. Now, because you're high school and you have your students by different periods, I would say if you were using your math lesson, Nearpod math lesson, in more than one class, I would always launch it new for each class with a different code. And part of it is because of reports. If you do the same one and just leave it open, then all your students will be grouped together and they won't be by your class periods. So for high school, I'm always saying launch it new for each class period. Your students will see on some of the slides up in the right-hand corner, this is part of, it's an immersive reader icon. And when we do advanced settings, we'll see how you turn that on. And it allows, if the students need to have the questions and answer choices read to them, they can click on that and that will happen. So for those of you that may have some special needs and are doing differentiation, that's a great tool for you to use in Nearpod. Now this is a collaborate board, again, one of my favorite tools, but always, again, get a pop-up. And what this is asking is, would you like to approve the student comments before they are posted? If I'm working with elementary students, I don't usually have to worry about it. If I'm working with middle school and high school students, that could be a different story. So I might say I want to approve the comments before they're posted. Now, you're adults, I trust all of you, so I'm not going to approve them. So I have a question up here. Search for a picture of a prey, add it to the collaborate board, and describe your animal. You have down here at the bottom a text box. And so you can say, my prey is a rabbit because, and I just go on and tell why it's a prey. And then I can go right here to this little blue square. It's kind of a landscape icon. I click on it. It takes me to Google image search and I put in rabbit and I do a search. And here's all these images and I find my picture of a rabbit and I save it. And now I post my response. I love some of the answers, posts that I'm getting and all. And so a collaborate board, again, is a great way to get that 100% participation. It can be just text. It could be text and images and all. And it's very easy to use. And it doesn't, if you do decide that you want to approve them, it doesn't take but a second and then they'll pop up. But if one gets by you or something, you can kick it out because on each one of them, there's a little trash can. So if somebody did put something inappropriate, that then I would just delete it. So a collaborate board has, there's just many uses for it. Again, it gets all the students involved. Up here, I also would, on this one, I have, in many of the activities, I can add a timer so that it gets done like in 30 seconds. So this is what I was seeing as they were coming in. I was seeing your image and why this animal was a prey. And you can see here's a card that's been deleted. And then I have my images of a prey and the definition. Now this is an open-ended question. Can an animal be both a predator and a prey? Explain your answer. So there's no right or wrong answer here. And so it will not be graded. So go ahead and respond. I don't want a dissertation, just give me a sentence or two. I will be seeing this in real time. And I also, on my screen, I'm seeing what the participation is. Right now it's at 14%. and all. And so it helps me when I'm not seeing my students face to face to understand if they're all participating or not. Again, I may get a wonderful answer that I want to share with the class. I have a share button by each of your names. Also for the teacher, if you want to share things, but you don't want the names to be on it, you'll have to look for it. It's kind of small. It's down in the right-hand corner of the teacher screen. I can hide the student names so that I can share without anybody knowing whose answer is whose and all. Nearpod has done a great job of listening to teachers, and so a lot of the enhancements that they have made over the years have become because of teacher suggestions. Now, when you go to your reports, this will not be graded because there was no right or wrong answer. But it's very easy for you to read over these as well, or you can read them in real time. So we're moving on. So as I said, this is what I was seeing. I was seeing my class names. I was seeing the answers. Mary Poppins did a wonderful job because she explained her answer. The others just said yes or no, or definitely. And notice over here, I had the 100% participation. Here's my button that I could have clicked on and shown out a student's response to the whole class. This could have been read aloud if the student needed that. I don't know if you're familiar with Microsoft Sway, but this is one of the ways to add content to your presentations. It is, to me, it's kind of like a PowerPoint on steroids. I didn't make this Sway. It was already done. I just added it in. And so I'm just gliding through it. And the sways are very, very well done. And so if I have this and I'm doing a live participation, I have to remember, give my students time to read this information, to take notes on this and all. And so you can see I'm just gliding down through it. When I get to something like this is like a stack of cards. And I can click on each card and read the information. I could take notes on these.
Hey, Joan,
Yes.
question in the chat. Is the Sway subscription based or is it part of what we already have?
Okay. Sway, there are sways that are part of your district licenses and all. And so now you can go out and you can build your own sways in Microsoft if you have Office 365. But I will show you where they are in within Nearpod. Okay. And here, so I'm still going through this. Here's another stack. There's a class activity and down here. So this is called Microsoft Sway, and it's another way to add content. Now, this is fairly new. It's called matching pairs. And so go ahead and be matching the pairs. You create your own matching pairs when you're adding an activity. It's very easy to do. You can have text to text, image to text, image to image, and all. As the teacher, I'm seeing how many tries it takes you to get them all matched up. So if somebody is just clicking around, hoping that they find something and not really paying attention, then, you know, I will see that as part of their results. So it's just another way to do, again, a review, a formative assessment,
Is
and
it possible to put the directions back on the screen? Like, can the students do that right now?
the student, yes, you should have had instructions, or they should have been put in, that says match the image to the card. It could be math problems and all. And when we get into the hands-on, I'll show you how it looks as you're making one. But yes, you can give instructions that they would see.
If I was a student, how do I see those directions?
Okay, so okay. So when this came up, you had to wait for me to give you directions. Is that right? There were no directions?
I just now see cards.
Huh? Okay. I will show you how you could make better instructions, okay? And all. We'll do that when we get into the hands-on. And yes, then the students would see those instructions, which was your original question.
Joan, I think a few people in the chat just said the blue, like the white arrow in the upper left hand. I think if you just click on that.
Got it. That worked.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And this is good because, and I will tell you what I do a lot of times when I'm working with students and maybe I'm doing a new lesson or such, I'll launch the lesson like from my computer, and then using my iPad, I'll go in and log on as a student so that I can see what the student sees. And that's why it was important for me to have you be my students, because you'll see what questions might pop up. And I love that you're asking questions. So this is what I was seeing. I was just seeing how many times, and you see Oprah was just, oh, she was just kind of clicking around, okay, and all. This is VR, virtual reality. Nearpod has partnered with 360 cities, and you can use these in a lot of different ways. The students, I'm just having to use my pad, but if they are on iPads, they can lift it up, they can move it around, and all. And there's a lot of these already built in for you. So say you're language arts and you're talking about Shakespeare's time, you could put in a VR of Shakespeare's theater in London. If you're studying world history and you or geography and you want them to experience the pyramids in Egypt. And the difference is that you can just, you can zoom in, you can zoom out, you can move all around. And so, I could have a question about describe what the coral reefs look like and all. So that's just a little taste of what you are able to do in Nearpod. Now, there's several more some other activities. You've already seen a collaborate board. So I'm skipping over these, but you would be able to see this. So the question on that one was, how do you think Nearpod could make a significant impact in your classroom? So I wasn't asking for images. I was just asking for feedback. And so they were just putting their text in that text box at the bottom.
Joan, I have a question. The collaborate board, I know like on the fly, you can add activities like I can see on your upper right, but I don't think you can add a collaborate board on the fly. Do you know why that is? Because I could see with remote learning, that would be super helpful.
You can add one as a quick launch, but not here under adding activities. And I'm not sure why that's not possible. I'm writing that down because, as I said, as they get input, collaborate boards on the fly. Adding activity.
Because that's the only one, if I'm not mistaken, where students can see each other's responses without you having to share it as a teacher, right? So if you're wanting to like just have discussion on the fly, that collaborate board is like one of the better options.
Right. I totally agree. Um, I'll show you when we get into how you can do it like as a quick launch, but that's not the same thing. You're in here, and what you're seeing on I have on my screen, I can add activities on the fly, like web content or an open-ended question, a draw it, a true false, and all. But at this point, I cannot add a collaborate board that way. But great question. And, you know, I give I always give them feedback too. So when I give feedback today, I'm going to add that into my questions and say, teachers would like to be able to, and all. So maybe that'll change. But you're right, on just doing it as add an activity, that was not an option. So logging in, you've already, we'll be logging in here in just a minute into your account. Again, this is just a reinforcement slide if you forget how to do it. These are some of, this is some of the parts of Nearpod, their homepage, how to create a new lesson. And this is what I was talking about, a quick launch, where you don't even build a lesson, you just launch a question, and here it could be an open-ended draw timer or collaborate. So they have it there, but not on the other. We're going into your profile because there are some advanced settings that you can toggle on or off that are very important. That'll be one of the first things we do and all, because these things that you can turn on and off have to do with student notes, submitting answers, requiring submissions when it's self-paced. So that's one of the important things I like to do with each training and all. So as I said, we're not going to go through all of these. Earlier I said the Nearpod library is going to become your new best friend because it has over 8,500 lessons already done. And just recently, and we were so excited, they added interactive videos. And then again, there's over 1,000. That means that those videos that are already in the video library, they have put questions into the videos. If you ever used Edpuzzle, it will remind you of that. Or you can bring in a YouTube video and you can add your own questions. And so with older students, when you're showing longer videos, having those interactive questions ever so often keeps them focused so that they're not just drifting off and thinking about what they're going to do later in the day. So as I said, we will be into the Nearpod library, and I'll show you the different ways to search, because you don't want to look at 8,500 lessons looking for just what you need and all. There's various filters. You can search by grade level, subject area, state standards, whatever. And then you may be amazed at how easy it is to bring a lesson from the Nearpod library into your library, where you can tweak it to make it your own. And then launching lessons. These are very short videos. So like I did a live lesson, but this is a question we get asked.
It's easy to launch a Nearpod lesson from your Nearpod library. Once you're logged into your Nearpod library, you can see here, this is the home base. You hover over any lesson and you can choose a live lesson or a student paced. Any lesson can be launched either way. A live lesson is one where the teacher is driving the slides and changing them, and it changes on all the student devices. And a student-paced lesson is one where the students can go at their own pace and don't need the teacher to drive to change slides. I'll now show you how to launch a live lesson. I click Live Lesson. A code generates that you can share with students via email, link, Google Classroom, Microsoft Teams, and more. The student need only go to nearpod.com and enter the code as shown here. The code is not case sensitive. Once they have done this, they'll be prompted to enter their name, and then they click Join Session. The teacher can then control how the slides change on the student screen.
Okay, so that was less than a minute. So you have these nice short videos as reminders of how to do it. And the student pace, there's a short video here. We're not going to really watch all of these. As I said, I have things for us to do, but the student pace lesson, it's the same thing. They get the code. I can toggle on requiring student submissions, which I certainly would do. And you can view the progress. If you give a student pace lesson, say on Monday, and you tell them that it's due, that they need to finish it up by 8 a.m. Thursday morning, you can go in and see the progress if they're actually working on it, or maybe they're waiting till the last minute. So that's very easy to do. Reports, they give you lots of data. They give you a report. The reports include how does the class do overall? How do the students do individually? And again, you have a video and you have a slides that just reinforce how to do it. So as I said, I'm kind of skipping over some of this so that we can get you your feet really wet in this. I want you to feel like that when we finish up, that you know what you're doing. This is a fill in a blank. It's another type of activity. It's a drag and drop. You drag the from the word bank the answers over into the correct blank, and you can have, you can have a lot of blanks and all in this. It will be graded for you and such. And so that's another way to do a formative assessment or a review. This is something they added in. It's a gamified quiz. And sometimes when I'm working with high school teachers, they'll say, well, that looks too elementary. But again, a different way to review. And there's some that are already built, and you can change the settings and all. And so you can take any quiz that you have and turn it into a time to climb. And so you pick your meme, and they start popping up for me. And so I'll see how many people are willing to play. We're actually not going to do the whole thing. I just wanted you to see what it looked like and such. And so I'm seeing how many have signed in and are connected. And when I have my whole class in, I would go ahead and I would start it. So just remember, there's built-in time to climbs, and there are the capability of turning any quiz into a time to climb. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and start it so that those that are in, you'll see what it is. There's you get this timer. You can have how much, limit the time. This is for my English language arts teachers. There, and there. If everybody answers quickly, it just goes on to the next question. I have a leaderboard right now. Ann Pendleton is in first place. That means she answered it the fastest and she had it correct. And all. So if you had 25 questions in your quiz, you'd have 25 in your time to climb. And you would get results for everyone. Now, Ann, I know you would like to be the winner and I'd give you a wonderful prize, but we just need to keep going. You can't break Nearpod, so don't be afraid to click on a button or such. Okay, so we're going to go here. These are just Go ahead. Was there a question?
No, I think it was the video.
Oh, okay. Okay, these are some additional resources that are available to you. We're going to talk about many of these features of how you add content, how you add a video, how you add a field trip. If you're a math science teacher, this is the PhET simulations from the University of Colorado at Boulder. And they're divided by high school, middle school, and elementary. And so if you haven't used those, you may find that a real, something you'll want to add. We have a way of adding sways. This is the British Broadcasting videos. If you're a math teacher, you have Desmos, the graphing calculator. You can add a website so that students do not have to go outside of Nearpod to get to that website. There's Facebook groups. Nearpod Educators. It's a wonderful group to be on Facebook because they post so much information. Now, Nearpod likes to get feedback. And so they have this short survey. It's in SurveyMonkey and all. And so it's anonymous. And I'd ask you to go ahead and just answer these questions quickly and all. Just remember, I am going to give you time to actually be in Nearpod. So don't worry about that. That's something that certainly is going to happen. And this is the way Nearpod, by getting feedback, they can better meet the needs of the teachers. They can get new ideas and such. And so this is important to them. As I said, it goes straight to them and not to me and all. So when you have finished, you can go ahead and get out of that and just get into your Nearpod account. I'm just going to give a few more seconds to finish the survey. And then I will be going to my screen and I will be ending the session and all. And it's just a downward arrow up here in the middle of my screen by the word Nearpod. So I come up here and I could either get to reports or I can end the session. So I'm going to go ahead and end the session. And it asks me if I'm sure I want to do this. And I say, yes, I do. Now, I want you in your account. You're not my students anymore. You're probably landed in your library. Now, your library doesn't look like mine because I've been using Nearpod a long time and I have a lot of lessons. And right now I need to organize some of these better. But up here you will see I have folders. And so in some of these folders, like this one, I have 13 lessons. I have one over here on vocabulary with 12 lessons in it. Here's virtual reality college tours. There's 23 lessons. So that would be real messy if all these were down here. And so you may want to start having folders from the very beginning and maybe go by first 6 weeks, first period, second period, whatever. And to create a folder, you just click on new and you can see right here it says folder. And you go in and you click on the folder, you give it a name and you type 6 period. I want to put on this one. And that's how easy it is to create. Later on, if you don't like that, you want it to be a different title for those lessons, you just click beside it and you can rename it. You can give it a folder color. Now, I want all of you to do this with me. Over here in the right-hand corner, is your profile. I have my image in it. I want you to click on it. I want you to slide down to lesson settings. And these are the settings that you can turn on or off. Now you can require students to use Google or Office 365 to autofill their names, or you can turn it off and they would just type in their names. I think this came about because some students were using nicknames and they wanted them to be their real names. To me, that's creating your technology etiquette. Here's Enable Immersive Reader. If this is turned on, that means that the slides such as the quiz, the open-ended question or such, that will be read to the students if they click on the icon. Enable student notes, I would definitely have that turned on. It's a great way for the students to take notes as you're going through, and then for them to immediately get the lesson, though there's other ways of sharing it, of course. Now, this one is strictly up to you. Show quiz and multiple choice question results in student-paced mode. Do you want your students, when they're in student-paced mode, to see, after say they've taken a quiz or something, what those correct answers were? Again, that's your choice. Allow students to resubmit answers in live participation mode. I have mine turned off. Now, you may want to turn that on, or later on you may change your mind. I don't want to see their, what they think they know, but we might have a great discussion like we talked about and all, and maybe the students would like to resubmit an answer after they'd had that discussion. Please turn this one on because you'll be doing student-paced lessons and you want to have and use collaborate boards. And if you don't turn this on, the students will get a pop-up that will say waiting on teacher input, and they will not be able to respond on that. I would turn this one on, that's my preference, and is that in student-paced lessons, I want them to answer the poll. I want them to do the quiz. So if I have this turned on, they cannot just move on through and not do the quiz or such. So remember, I got to that by going to my profile, sliding down to lesson settings, and it popped up this right here. Okay? I just think that's so important. Now, I can come over here and click back on my home page to that Nearpod. That brings me back to my library. But over here on the left-hand side, I want to go to the Nearpod library. So go to the Nearpod library with me. And this is where the 8,500 lessons are. And so you're going to see some featured ones. You can see just the videos. You can see the lessons, whatever. But again, I have a lot of ways of using filters. So here I could click on state standards and I could come down to California and they have all the state standards, and I could say I am a math teacher and I am a high school math teacher. And here are my strands, and I'm going to open my strands, and I'm going to find, I'm just going to take this first one. It's on probability and statistics, and I'm going to click on that. And so this finds out of all those 8,500 lessons, a lesson that would meet that standard. So that's one way that you can use filters. So I'm going to clear the standards. I could just say I'm a high school teacher and then come up here and I'm teaching American Revolution. So I've said I want lessons that have been designated for high school concerning American Revolution and all. And so I would see these, and any of the ones that have that time at the bottom, you know that that is a video. And so the videos, there seems to be quite a few that are done by Crash Course, and then a lot that are done by the Nearpod staff. And you'll see some that have teachers' names underneath this. Now, these teachers have been vetted, their lessons have been looked at before they're actually put into the Nearpod library. So there's some very outstanding teachers that do lessons for Nearpod. Okay, so I could search that way, or I could have just searched by science. But it's nice when I left American Revolution up there in my search. I could just say, let me just see high school lessons in general. And I would see all that had been designated high school lessons. Now, let's say that I find a lesson by searching this way, and I think this is exactly what I am teaching. And this, I put that I was a science high school teacher. And I find this one on photosynthesis. I click on the lesson, and you can either be doing this or you can be watching me do it. And you preview the lesson. So I would go through and I would preview it. And I would say, wow, this one has 19, I know it has 19 slides. It's exactly what we're studying. And down here in the bottom of that lesson, it says add to my library. I click on add to my library. And now it says show in my library. When I go back to my library, that lesson is there. Now, here's the beauty of it. The lesson is still in the Nearpod library, but once it is in my library, that's where I can add to it. I can make it fit my class a little bit better. I can delete slides if there were some things I didn't want in the lesson and all. And so when I click on, I'm back in my library, and there's photosynthesis right there with all these other lessons. And when I hover over it, down in the bottom left-hand corner of that lesson, it says edit. And I click on edit, and I have a pop-up that says edit lesson or duplicate lesson. I used to just jump in and edit the lesson, and I thought, why would I need to ever duplicate it? Well, sometimes I have gotten in where I am editing lessons, and about halfway through, I say to myself, that lesson was really better before you started messing with it. And so a lot of times I will duplicate a lesson, so I have it in its original format and all if I need to go back to it. Or if I'm doing differentiation and I need to make different changes in that lesson. So when I hit edit, it comes up, and maybe this second slide here, I'm not going to use it. I can just click on it and I can hit delete. And it asks me again, do I want to delete that slide? So if there are slides in here that I don't want to use, I just click on it and I delete it. Delete. Also, let me mention this, because this one had a video built into it. Some of these lessons were put in, I mean, having the interactive videos just happened the first part of August. So a lot of these lessons that have videos already built in don't have questions, but you can add questions to those and all. So let's go back up. And when you're in the edit mode, you see that you have add a slide. You can click on it either right there in a little box, or you can click on it as a slide. Doesn't matter. So there's two ways to edit your lesson. You can add more content and you can add activities. So I clicked on content is first, and the first thing that pops up is the add a video. And I can click on that add a video. Okay, so it talks about it, you know, creating your own, embedding your own questions. And so here's the video library. And again, I could do a search, and I could look for one on photosynthesis. I don't think I spelled that right. Let's see if I get an I in there. And here's one on photosynthesis. It's 12 minutes long. Okay, that sounds good. So I'm going to click on that. Of course, I want to preview it. It gives you a little, tells you how to, but I'm going to show you how to. Now notice this one already has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 questions embedded, or 7 embedded into it. And you can, so those dots mean that's where a question is. There's a multiple choice question here, and it pops up and tells me what it is. There's several, that's an open-ended question, and I can see what these are. And maybe down here, I want to add my own question. And remember, as I said, there's videos that are in lessons that are not interactive, and this is how you would make them interactive. I just click on it, and I click on this add activity at 10 minutes, 26 seconds, and it can be an open-ended question or a multiple choice. And so I click on open-ended question. I put my question here. When does blah, and I'm going to type it in Swedish right now because I can type so much faster. And I'm going to save it. For you math teachers, there's a, you can use some of the math symbols in your questions as well. It's not a full equation editor, but it has a lot of the most popular ones. So I went ahead and added an interactive question into this video. Remember, this is in my library. This is not affecting the original video at all. And then I hit save. Whenever you add a new content or new activity, those slides land here at the bottom. And I just take that slide and I drag it up to where I would like to have the video. So that was very easy for me to add a video. Add a slide. I could add another slide. This is web content though. This may be something that you will use a lot. I have a great URL that I want in my lesson. And so I type in the URL. Now I'm putting in espn.com. It's easy to do. But some of the URLs are very long, and it is very easy for you to, your students, if they have to type it in, to mess it up. I test the link. I always want to make sure I don't get any surprises. And so, yes, it went right to where it was supposed to go. So I know I typed it correctly. And so then I just save this. It lands at the bottom of my presentation. And then I just drag it wherever I would like for it to be in my lesson. So it's easy. So what I'm doing, I took this pre-made lesson and I added it. I'm now making it fit my class. And as I said, it's here at the bottom, and I would drag it to where I would like it. Add a slide. This is the Nearpod 3D that we saw, the shark up. But let's say I'm studying the auditory system. And so I can preview it and see what it looks like. Remember, I can, as a student, I can enlarge it, I can turn it around, whatever. If I like that and I think it's adding to my lesson, I just say save, it's in my lesson. PhET simulations are available for math and science. And so down here is science high school. And so here's a lot of different PhET simulations that you may want to use, especially while you're doing virtual lessons. Here's one on atomic interactions. You can preview it. It has and if you like it, I mean, you choose one, you preview it, you say done, and it goes into your lesson. Field trips, that was where we had one underwater. This is done with 360 cities. I type in Shakespeare's Theater. I click my button and I get a 3D or virtual reality, the Shakespeare Theater in London. Now, you may get some tourists in these, but you know, your whole point is you want to show your students what do theaters look like. Oh, look at those wooden benches that everybody had to sit on and all. So that's how easy it is to add a VR. Here's my graphing calculator. These are BBC videos. They're very well done. Here is Sway. And you can see they're divided up into some categories. Here's something on historic figures, famous landmarks. I wanted them to see the Colosseum in Italy. And so I preview it. Remember, this is like that PowerPoint that I glided through, and I add the sway and all. Here was animals. I love the images here. The colors are so bright. There's the one I've added in mine on endangered species. Okay, let's see. Audio, you can bring in an audio file. You can add your own voice to your slides and all. A lot of times people maybe you're studying, it's Martin Luther King speech and you want to bring in the file that Martin Luther King making that speech. A PDF viewer, your language arts, you teach, you're teaching the Raven. You don't want it broken up into like 4 different slides. You'd like the students to be able to read through it all on one slide. So save it as a PDF and bring it in through PDF viewer, and it's all on one screen. That was adding content. Here's adding activities. Very easy to do. I can make a time from climb to scratch. I'll show you how to search for those back in the Nearpod library. Here's my open-ended question. All I do, and I have a lot of space here, I type my question. Explain from the image how condensation is taking place, and all. But over here on the right-hand side, I can add an image, I can add a video, I can add audio instructions. I also have the ability to toggle this on, which says enable student audio recordings. So I might have students that verbally can respond to this much better than just typing in the answer. So I have several options for that. And if you do add an image to a question, you say, oh, it's so small, it's just over in that, it looks like a postage stamp. They can click on it and it fills up the whole screen. Now, I'm doing the same thing over and over. I'm at activities. Here's matching pairs. This is what we talked about earlier. Here's where I can put in my instructions. Match or find the matching, match the cards by blah, 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 whatever your instructions are. So yes to whoever asked that question. You could add very good instructions. So I just come here and I say add a pair. So I could add text. I might have a vocabulary word. Precipitation. And over here, I'm adding the definition. So your instructions might be match the vocabulary word to the correct definition. Okay, I could have math problems. I could have 9 times 9, keeping it simple, and I could put the answer. So maybe you're a math teacher and your instructions are work the math problems and you're matching the correct answer. Add another pair. You're studying the presidents of the United States, Abraham Lincoln. This time, I'm going to add an image. And so up here, I'm going to find an image of Abraham Lincoln. And I'm typing in Abraham Lincoln because if I just typed in Lincoln, I'd also get images of Lincoln cars, and I don't want that. So I find the image of Abraham that I want to use. I save it. It pops in. I have this little doohickey here, slider. Now I can make Abraham fill it up and all. I can have image to image and all. And I can have many more matching pairs than this. So yes, you could make your instructions much better than maybe what was in the lesson. I'm going to go back and look at those. I may need to. And that's the good thing about Nearpod. You can edit at any point. You know, you're not stuck with it the way it was. These are activities. We went through content. These are activities. This is a quiz. And so here's my question. It's just like anything else you have done. I can add more choices here. I have to pick a right answer. Again, I can add an image over here if that pertains to my question and such. And so I could have, 5 questions. I could have 25 questions. I can put a timer on it. You'll see the timer up in the right-hand corner of the activities that you can add a timer to. You can put a flip grid in. What the flip grid is, you put your teacher URL and the student URL that you want the students to go to. Here's the draw it. Again, make your instructions however you need to do so, whether it's circling a predicate, a noun in green and a verb in red, or actually drawing something. Activities. Here is the collaborate board. You can have an image there. This could be on conservation is the topic. I want them to give me some examples of how we could conserve our forest. You have different backgrounds you can choose from. This is not my favorite. I like something that has more contrast. So it's just your preference. So I tend to stick to these first three ones here. And now remember, all of these are landing down here at the bottom. And I am going, before I do this lesson, I'm going to drag them to the right place. Add a slide, add activities. A poll, very easy to do. You have your question up here. What is your favorite ice cream? You put your answers here. You can have as many as you would like. I could add another one, Rocky Road. Also, I could toggle on over here to allow my students to select multiple choices. If I don't have it on, they can only make, pick one thing out of the poll. Add a slide, add activities. Down here is fill in the blank. Memory test you will not use. This is for like kindergarten, pre-kindergarten. It's like matching a cat to a cat, a dog to a dog. Fill in the blank, I do want to show you, and I'm watching my time. You type your text here. 3 large cities in Texas are Dallas, Houston, and San Antonio. And you see I have room for a lot more text than I am typing in. Once you get your text typed in, you can change, now you can change the color and fonts. I love this purple and white, but it's not very easy to read. I hit next. Get everything typed in first though. I click on what I would like to become the blanks. And you see San Antonio requires 2 blanks. But here's my hint in that when this, because this will be graded for you, if your students, if they came to a question like this and they put in Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, it would be counted wrong because I put in Dallas, Houston. Well, it's really not wrong. So if I'm doing something that's like this and I fill in a blank, I make sure it's sequential so that they, maybe it's dates, it's least to greatest or something like that, so that it makes sense when it is graded. So you see, I took this, it's quite a mess right now, and I added slides, I added content, I added activities and all. Now, I also noticed, let me just take this slide right here. When I click on it, before convert to draw it was grayed out. When I click on it, this gives me that option. And I double click. And now I could say this is, I could make it a draw it slide, but also notice down here at the bottom, I have, it's very small, but there is an audio button. I can create my own audio for this slide. So I click on it. I could bring in a file or I could record. So I click the recorder. I hit the microphone. The definition of photosynthesis is a process used by plants and other organisms to convert light energy, normally from the sun, into chemical energy. When I'm finished, I can listen to it again. If I like it, I can just save it, or if I need to re-record it, I would re-record it and I would save and exit. So I can add my voice to these slides, okay? So you can add your voice, you can take a slide when it's in this, and you can click on it. It says convert to draw it. You're about to add a draw it slide. I went up there and clicked on the draw it button, and I say, no, I don't need the original one. And now I have it as a draw it slide. And when I double click on it, I'm able to add in my instructions. And this is, hey, I might say, circle the verbs, whatever I want to do. Color in the 13 original colonies and all. So that just gives you an idea of how easy it is. All of this is being done in my library. If you want to get back to the Nearpod library, you click on that home button and you slide down here to Nearpod library. And remember I said I would show you time, I can do time to climb as a search, and I find all of the time to climbs that have already been done. I found the one that we did on there. Here's one on the Pythagorean theorem. Here's 13 colonies and such. You can use these by themselves, or you can use them inside of a lesson. And then to get back to your Nearpod library, you just click on that and that takes you back to your home base. So are there any questions? This is kind of going through it fairly fast, but you cannot break it. And all you have to do is just, I would start off with something out of the Nearpod library as my first lesson and add some content to it and all. And so you can either remember do it as live participation, or you can do it as a student paced. And when I click student paced, remember, I still get the code. I have it in my profile that, yes, I want them to do all of the activities, require student submissions. You can toggle it on and off on individual lessons. The code is good by default for 29 days, and you can make it longer, you can make it less. But it's the same lesson as if you were doing it with your students. Also, some of you say, well, where are reports? Where are reports? Well, right over here it says reports. And you will see that it will bring up, as you do lessons, here's the lesson we just did. And it will give you a report. And you can see I've done this lesson when I click on it, you see I've done it several times. This is the one we just did today. I did it last week with 107 students and all in one class. And this one only had one student. So you will find these by each of your lessons. And so you just click on it, it'll bring up the data, and you can see the summary, or you can see by individuals, whatever. Okay, we have hit the 11:30 mark. Some of you probably have classes and such. I do wish that you have a great school year. Are there some burning questions here at the end?
Appreciate it. No, I appreciate it, Joan.
Okay.
One of the successes that we've had, I think, is, obviously in distance learning, having a substitute and being able to push out a lesson, a self-paced lesson.
Right. And I didn't even go into setting up a lesson for subs. in here. That's kind of part of the advanced training, but you certainly can get in there and
Yeah.
see about it. So, I will be sending these resources and the recording on to you later on this afternoon.
Thank you.
Have a great year. We're all going to get through this.
Yes, we will. Thank you much.
Uh-huh.